So welcome back to Select Internationals, the sidebar. This is episode 2. So thanks for taking the time to watch. Today we've got a couple of longtime friends of mine. A lot of people always ask me how I got into the industry. Well, me and Matthew pretty much got into it about the same time. It might be like a year after me or so, back in 2002. And then of course my longtime friend and mentor, who's actually the one who kind of guided me and molded me where I needed to go and shot me on my course, Mr. Tim O'Rourke, who's the president of the Grafton group. Tim, when did you get into the industry?
You know, back in the 80s, I sat there. We saw in 1981, March 30th, the attempted assassination on President Reagan. I was actually working for a entertainment venue and taking care of some of the folks that were coming there to perform and everything. And I enjoyed it. It got me exposure to the field. But after about 2 years, I decided I really don't care for these people. You know, I'm not going to go too far into that. But after watching the Hinckley attempt on President Reagan, I realized I didn't know quite as much as I think I needed to know. So did a lot of soul searching, wound up hooking up with Kurt, who owned a company that was into protective services, and then learned some things there, and eventually went to ESI, which is the Harvard of executive protection training here in the States. Now Bob Dugan has sold that school, but you know, it kind of set me on my way with the proper training, the proper knowledge. The staff at the time were ex-Secret Service. You had the person that was heading it all up was an ex-Marxist revolutionary who had been deported from this country 3 times, captured in South America, tortured. You see a lot of what I call glamour shots of Bob, where his face is all nice and smooth. Trust me, it's not quite that after they got done with him. And I realized, okay, you know, this domestic security situation, low profile, what you would call, not what you would see at Blackwater, guns up and ready to go, was something that I wanted to really apply myself to. And you know, as the 90s came through, I got involved with a couple partners. We organized a crew there, and we had good success in running some of the largest protective details in the United States. I mean, 20-man details is a pretty big deal.
That's huge.
Yeah,
you don't see a lot of that. It's usually like 1 and 2 man details these days.
You know, in some of the fellas out there that have been around for a while, got a little gray hair like we do. Remember, you know, I'm looking at Matthew and I'm like, I haven't seen him. Holy shit! Hey, it looks good on you. It looks good. You know, I mean, you know, but I sat back and I started thinking about, you know, how do we run this? I started being invited to teach some of my philosophies at alumni association conferences and everything, and enjoyed that. And then, you know, that just kind of manifested into, you know, teaching and talking about it and training. And then our own crew started up, or grew from there, and it was a beautiful thing. I enjoyed it. It got me around the world a few times on several continents and multiple countries, and exposed me to a lot of operators, some good, some not so good, which we all have dealt with in the past, and I just enjoy it. And then I get to meet folks like you, which bring a whole set of other backgrounds, cultures, experience to the profession. And you know, I'm one of those people that there is no right way. There are ways of doing this. And the moment you put up walls, you resist anything new. And you know, there's a lot of people that fell victim to that. There's still some that may be watching this video that are saying that internet thing is probably not going to catch on. Because they haven't adapted to new technology and moved through it and put it to use as well as they can. This is how I got into it. It's been almost 30 plus years, going back to the 80s, and whatever this year is now, 2016. We'll see what it brings us, and I've enjoyed it quite a bit. It's been good, and like I said, meeting folks like you, Matthew, and hundreds of other folks that have either stuck with it and continue pushing on and hone their skills, both here and overseas, and continued their passion for what they're doing. The symbol of ESI was always it's a Chinese character, life force, and that's tattooed on my shoulder. It had a profound impact on me, and I believe assassination is the cruelest form of censorship, and our job is to make sure that every voice is heard. Not every country has the First Amendment, but it is people, like yourself, Eric, and many others that frequent this establishment here, Bad Monkey, that have made that possible for this entire country and many around the world. The U.S.'s best export is security and stability in those areas, and I appreciate everybody that's taken part in providing that.
Yeah, so first thing I got out of that, you had 20 plus years before I even got in the industry. You're already in it.
Thanks for making me
your
feel.
age there.
let me have another drink here.
Hey, Matthew, like I said, me and you came in about the same time into
right.
the industry. What inspired you to get into the industry?
I had been in corporate America for 15 years, and just really I had a desire to do something a little bit more. I did a lot of training on the side, met them through some of that training, and had an opportunity to see one of the vehicles where you were at, and did a little research, found out a little bit more about the company, realized I needed some experience to get in there, so I went with a sub company for a year, doing some ATM overwatch and stuff like that for repair guys and stuff. Got a little bit of exposure, and then was introduced to the industry. I believe my first FTO experience was with you, and I had a really good time doing that, and found the brotherhood to be a big value, and just from there it just expanded. I fell in love with the training, the process, the people I was working with, and just tried to stay in it.
One of the things I've noticed over the years and how this industry has evolved is when the high threat stuff really started coming into play, 2003, and continues on throughout various countries in the Middle East. And the perception from practitioners that have been doing executive protection for a while didn't seem like they wanted to accept the guys high threat that were doing it. I've heard different labels such as cowboys over there, they're not doing the actual protection and everything. And one of the things I'm very happy to see is that perception has changed quite a bit. I'm seeing more and more guys that are transitioning from the high threat and being welcomed in to a lot more domestic assignments, providing that they come through and go through an executive protection program to go over protocols and etiquettes and the little intricacies that make you successful on an EP detail. As you said, you're not going to be going guns up or carrying a rifle on a domestic detail. I don't care who you work for. It's not happening, and it's not about executive protection. If you go for your gun, you've already failed. And that's one of the things you've always taught me for years. Before we go any further, I didn't even announce where it was. You put in a plug in here. We are downtown Tampa in Ybor City at the Bad Monkey. It's one of my favorite establishments. It's a military memorabilia bar. So the owners and the general managers were nice enough to open it up for us today, so we could go ahead and make our episode 2. That's good. Gentlemen, thank you very much for coming out today, meeting with me, helping us put together this, and hopefully within the next few weeks we'll have episode 3 ready for release. We'll bring in some new people, And anybody that's interested in joining in on this video, as you can see here, there was a plug for Executive Security International here today. We all know that I'm with Select International. It's not about that. This is to grow the industry.
Right.
As Tim mentioned, there's not just one way to do things. Although 3 and 3 equals 6, so does 4 plus 2. So does 1 plus 5. So there's lots of good training providers out there. I stress that. I can't stress that enough. So I encourage you to get as much knowledge and training anywhere you can. You know, as long as you're going with a quality provider. So on that note, thanks guys. Cheers.
Sláinte.
There we go, Ben.